Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera. With me is County Manager Steve Mokrohysky. Welcome, Steve.
Great to be back, Lloyd. How are you?
I'm well, and you're doing well. I can tell
great.
just by looking at you. You radiate.
I'm having a great time.
Well, that's
Love
good.
and life, yeah.
Love and life. Well, we had a rather short commission meeting on the 20th, and that makes me love life.
Yes.
And we actually only have 3 items from that, but we'll go through those.
Okay.
And then we have, of course, a myriad of topics to cover.
A lot of other things going on.
A lot of stuff going on. But looking squarely at that September 20th meeting up at Lake Tahoe, commissioners did accept the annual progress report on the Carson River Watershed Regional Floodplain Master Plan for Douglas County. It's a mouthful.
It is.
Tell us what it's all about.
I'll do my best. There's a requirement every year that we come forward with an annual report on the National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System. So under that system, it requires the county to evaluate the progress towards implementing the plan each year, and this is the 4th progress report since the plan was adopted in 2008. And so we had the Carson Water Subconservancy District. Ed James came and presented information about the Regional Floodplain Management Working Group activities, stormwater management and master plan activities, the status of conservation easements for flood control, something we're actively working on as a part of our lands bill that we're hoping will get introduced in Congress later this year. He also talked about the formation of the Floodplain Technical Committee and funding sources for that, as well as public involvement in the FEMA mapping progress, which I think we'll touch base on in a minute. Obviously, that's been a big issue for our community, talking about the new flood maps that were put in place in the Carson Valley 3 years ago, and floodplain outreach programs. So it covered a number of these topics, kind of a status update on all these areas, and making progress in a number of the areas. And again, where we're challenged, really is with these FEMA flood maps that are in place that we've disputed for 4 years now. Finally, we believe reached some resolution, and we still have some work to get ultimate resolution for our residents and for our community.
What do the experts think about the flooding situation here in the Carson Valley these days? It's been 15 years now since we had a real flooding event, and we were having them about every 10 years. And has it been the improvements that have been made to the river that are not making the flood events happen so regularly as they used to, or do you have any ideas? Is that out of your area?
Well, and I don't. I think it's a combination of things. Certainly, there's a greater recognition of the need to identify projects that will positively impact floodplain management. And so I think we have agencies and studies and work that's going on that brings our attention closer to that recognition, and projects that we've invested in to do this. I also think that we haven't had the type of event that we had in 1997, which was really an area-wide, a community-wide flooding event that caused a lot of problems for a lot of people for a long time. So we keep our fingers crossed on Mother Nature that we don't have kind of the all of those natural events that occur at the same time, right? Where you get sort of a warm weather in the springtime when you still have a heavy snowpack and it rains and all the runoff kind of ends up in the valley area. But I think that it is fair to say that we've made progress. Having said we've made progress, we have a long way to go. There's no question, both in the Carson Valley and in Lake Tahoe, dealing with stormwater management issues. So we continue to work on those with Carson Water Subconservancy District, FEMA, officials, if we can get them to the table working with us cooperatively, and other folks in the region.
Okay. Also at that September 20th meeting, commissioners did approve the inclusion of Washoe County, Reno, and Sparks on the Western Nevada Development District Board. I didn't realize they weren't on that board. It was just the smaller towns were involved?
The Western Nevada Development District is an agency, a district that represents 8 counties in northern Nevada: Carson City, Churchill County, Douglas County, Humboldt County, Lyon County, Mineral, Pershing, and Story counties.
So everybody but Washoe.
Everyone but Washoe, Reno, and Sparks.
Yeah.
And that had evolved over time, and what first of all, what the Western Nevada Development District does is it comes together and coordinates and seeks federal grants and federal funding for economic development projects and initiatives in the Northern Nevada area. Recently, and with these discussions that have gone on at the state level with the governor's office, the governor's new Office of Economic Development, and the statewide push to have a fresh look and a new look at how we do economic development in the state of Nevada, there's been more of a push to look at regional cooperation. And I think people are recognizing that, this model of kind of fighting over businesses county by county, Douglas County fighting Carson City for a business, or Story County fighting Washoe County for a business, just really is not in the long-term best interest of any of our communities, that we really should be collaborating as a region, recognizing that each of our communities has different strengths and different weaknesses that can appeal or detract to a given business. So that recognition of working on a regional basis, ultimately everybody should win. The region should win. And look, my view is a business going to Carson City is not bad for Douglas County, because those may be jobs that are available to Douglas County residents. Or it may encourage people who relocate from another area and they work at that business in Carson City to buy a home in Douglas County. And vice versa. A business in Douglas County isn't necessarily a bad thing for Carson City. We really need to look at it in a new way. So that recognition is being applied to this discussion on the Western Nevada Development District. Ultimately, the board felt that it makes more sense to include Washoe County, the city of Reno, and the city of Sparks in the Western Nevada Development District, rather than having to compete with them for federal funds, because inevitably these 8 counties that have a small population base are likely going to lose out to Washoe County, because the funds are typically distributed based on the size of the population there. So that's what was done, and I think it's a good move. It's a move in the right direction. And again, we're recognizing that we need to be pursuing economic development regionally.
Well, as long as there's, you believe in the theory that there's strength in numbers, including Washoe and Reno and Sparks includes those, really increases those numbers.
That's
to make it more possible to maybe get those grants.
Yeah, and it's difficult for the 8 counties currently in WNDD to show up on the radar of these federal agencies in Washington, D.C. when they're looking at population centers of hundreds of thousands or millions of residents. So having Washoe County and their population base in this group really gives us a higher profile and a greater likelihood that we'll increase the dollars we get from the federal government for these economic development projects.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, only one more item from the agenda here. That was commissioners approving submitting a proposal. It's a proposal bid to host a future National Association of Counties Western Interstate Region Conference here in Douglas County in 2014 or 2015.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be a feather in our cap. Right?
Yeah, well, it would be. This is, as you said, it's a regional conference that, and the action by the board was to support submitting a bid. So it doesn't mean we're going to get the conference here, but it's the National Association of Counties. They do regional conferences in each region in the country each year, and so we put a bid in, or we're going to be putting a bid in for 2014 and 2015. And we believe that it'll be around 875 room nights. This would be located in Lake Tahoe, by the way. It would be a Monday to Saturday
Excellent
event.
Draw, Lake Tahoe. Huh?
People tend to like that.
A well-attended conference.
Natural jewel that we have in Lake Tahoe. And so we think it's, close to 1,000 room nights, about 30,000 square foot of meeting space, around $10,000 in room taxes that would be generated just from the people who would come and stay in the lodging facilities at Lake Tahoe from that, and about $26,000 in additional spend from those visitors. So the board's feeling was it gives Douglas County and Lake Tahoe a profile on a regional and a national level, and allows us to engage with leaders in counties all over the region and country, as well as generate some additional revenue for the area.
What time of the year would that conference be held?
It would come in May, which is also the other really nice time, because it's Carol Chaplin, who's the executive director of the Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority. said we talk about the shoulder season. This is actually mid-May, and Tahoe is actually like the elbow season. So it's really a kind of a dark time in the sense that there aren't a lot of visitors because you're past ski season, but you're before the point at which school's out and the weather's gotten really nice in Tahoe. So this is a great time. There's not going to be a lot going on. It's a great time for us to host a conference.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that pretty much covers the meeting, and looking at my stopwatch.
What do you want to
here.
do for the next few
20
minutes?
minutes.
We have? Yeah, all right. Let's come up with something to talk about.
I don't think we've ever covered a meeting in 10 minutes before.
All right.
But, yeah, we do have quite a few things to talk about. Let's start maybe with a preview of the October 4th meeting of the commissioners. What's on the agenda there?
We have, handful of items, but rather lengthy items. So this meeting, I think, times out at somewhere between 3 to 4 hours, and could potentially go longer. We have the approval of the resolution on a medium-term bond of $7.8 million. This is the second bond issuance of a total of $14 million in general obligation bonds we're issuing for the Community and Senior Center construction. You may recall the balance of the bonds, the longer-term bond issuance, was done back in July. We issued those bonds. We're now going to the board and beginning this process of doing the second issuance, which again will be a medium-term bond for $7.8 million. So this is the approval of the resolution and then the public hearing for that, and it will come back to the board in the future, and then we'll have to issue the bonds in the first quarter of 2013. So that'll be a good opportunity again to talk about the construction and the financing of the new Community and Senior Center. I'd also note, as a side to that, on October 16th at, I believe, 10:30 a.m., we're going to be having a groundbreaking at Herbig Park for the new Community and Senior Center. So welcome any interested residents who are able to come out to join us at that time. And we'll have more information that'll be provided before that. We are going to talk also about the some of the transportation improvements for the new Walmart in South County, or the southern, I should say, the southern portion of Gardnerville. There's been some discussion about the median that was put in by the Walmart development on 395 from about Service Drive past where Grant Avenue is going to be. And so we'll have some discussion about what the requirements for that median were, why we have to restrict left turn movements from Service Drive onto 395. And there's been some concerns from some folks about access into some of the commercial properties there. So we'll walk through the opportunities for traffic flow and safety issues as part of the Walmart development. And obviously, Walmart is, we believe, is planning to open sometime in late November, December. And this is something that's been on everyone's minds. Some people are looking forward to the new business coming in and the jobs and the revenue and everything that will come from that. And of course, we have others, existing local businesses, that are concerned about the impact to their business. So we've all been trying to work, and the Carson Valley Chamber of Commerce has been working with local businesses to work on how do you respond or deal with that impact and actually use it to the advantage of existing local businesses. So, we'll continue to work through those challenges. We also have an item that we'll talk about the cost for water rights that we charge to anyone who's purchasing commercial or residential developments that are purchasing water rights. It's really an outdated fee that was based on a prior market, and so our feeling is we need to take another look at that. So we'll get some direction from our board on what they'd like to see as it relates to the water rights fees. And then we have a number of items from community development. The ranch at Gardnerville, we have a plan development modification for the ranch at Gardnerville and for the Sierra Nevada Southwest. Ranch at Gardnerville is a residential subdivision project, and the Sierra Nevada Southwest is a commercial development project at South County that is not directly tied to the Walmart, but is associated with the Walmart project, and so there are some modifications that are coming forward from that. And then finally, Lloyd, an update on the public services element of our master plan. If you recall, we had a 15-year update to the master plan a few months ago, and one element of the master plan we still had some work to do on was the public services element. So we're coming back to the board with that update, and we'll have a discussion and some action from the board there.
So it is sounding like a longer meeting.
It's a longer meeting, and as you can tell, a number of these items will take some time to work through, and the board will likely have questions, the public will likely have questions and comments, and so it may be a longer meeting, and the next taping of our show here may take more than 10 minutes to cover all of those items.
Okay, sounds like a deal. So we've covered the meeting and the preview. Let's move on to some other topics like FEMA. Recently, Douglas County held a meeting with FEMA on the county's flood maps and other related issues. How did all that go?
It could have gone better. To be honest with you, we really had felt like the recommendation from the Scientific Resolution Panel, which is a panel process of independent, objective experts in the field that are appointed both by the community, Douglas County, and FEMA to review the issues and then issue a recommendation. Well, they issued the recommendation essentially siding with Douglas County, saying that FEMA's data was technically and scientifically flawed, and that the maps that were implemented in 2009 need to be revisited. And this was agreed to by both Douglas County and FEMA as part of a settlement agreement to avoid going into litigation and into the courts. We had filed a lawsuit against FEMA and then agreed to a settlement agreement which included this Scientific Resolution Panel. The panel found in favor of Douglas County, and we have sort of felt like, okay, where are we at now? What are the next steps? And so we met with FEMA. We laid out for them the representatives from Region 9. Eric Simmons was the individual that we met with, I believe, on September 12th, and said, hey, look, we're asking for three things. After 4 years of discussion and analysis and legal fights over this, well, we want three things. We want, first of all, our residents to be reimbursed for the additional costs, anyone who had to pick up flood insurance because they were added into the flood zone as part of these new maps that were issued in 2009 should be reimbursed. For the past 3 years, they had to pay additional flood insurance by no fault of their own, but because of FEMA's flawed data. They should be reimbursed for the past 3 years. That's one. Two, Douglas County should be reimbursed for the $600,000 plus that we've spent to remap a number of the areas that we had to remap in order to collect the data we needed to prove our point over the last 4 years that FEMA's data is technically and scientifically flawed, which we did successfully. But it cost us $600,000 in Douglas County taxpayer money to hire consultants to do that work. And it's going to cost another $260,000 to remap the additional areas that have not yet been mapped. So that's the third area, is to pay for that $260,000 additional cost. And the response we essentially got was, we have no mechanism to do that, and we question the recommendation and decision by the Scientific Resolution Panel. So we had a group of several staff and commissioner in the room, and we were frankly dumbfounded by the response. We were shocked by their response. We thought that we were well past where the issues they were bringing up, and we felt like we reverted to 4 years ago. So I share that here now, and we're going through a process of talking, both dealing with the legal issues and talking to the FEMA attorneys about the need to look at this seriously, as well as talking to our congressional delegation in Washington to help us pursue a course with FEMA in Washington, D.C. to try and get some attention to this issue. Douglas County is the first community in the country that has successfully appealed and won this issue through the Scientific Resolution Panel process for multiple flooding sources. Other communities have contested little project areas that are just part of a small project. No community has contested and won an area, a region, several flooding areas through this process. So it's rather unprecedented to date, and I think that it caught FEMA off guard, and I think that they're reeling from how do we handle this, and whatever we do with Douglas County, we're going to then be in the position of doing with other communities that go through this, which frankly is not our concern. Our concern is that we have technical issues that we've been saying for 4 years, don't issue these maps because they're technically and scientifically flawed. They issued them. We had to go through this 4-year-long process, and we proved our point, the experts are saying, and FEMA still isn't agreeing with us. So you can sense my frustration, and it's shared by our staff and our elected officials who've been fighting this, frankly, a lot longer than I've been in this role. And one individual, Mahmoud Azad, who we've lost in the time period that it took us to fight this. So, you know, the message for our local residents is that we will continue to advocate on your behalf and do what's right for our community, for the residents who are impacted by the flood insurance, and for all the taxpayers who've had to pay for the cost of these issues with FEMA.
Okay, well, it was, you were kind of like a smoldering fire or something. You kept building and building, so you do sense your frustration there. But since FEMA has never lost a case, that's probably why they don't have any mechanism set up, you know, to settle
They don't,
something,
and look, I'm not, you know, you get a lot of times people want to blame government, they blame local government for all the problems in the world, or they blame the state, or they want to blame the federal government for being terrible bureaucrats, and that's not what I'm saying. There are federal agencies that we work really well. You know, the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, is an example. Boy, we're really collaborating, coordinating well for the benefit of our local community. That relationship's working great. We have representatives in Washington who we work really well with. But in this case, on this issue, we have, you know, in my opinion, a federal agency that has been non-responsive. And we've gone through all the steps, and we're not arguing a political fight. We're arguing a technical and scientific fight that's based on fair and objective factual information that we put forward, and the experts agree. And so I want to be clear that we're not going out there and complaining and criticizing the federal government broadly because we think that the federal government is one thing or another. We're just talking about this specific issue that we've got, and we will continue to advocate, as I said, on behalf of our residents and taxpayers.
Great. Speaking of settlement agreements, there's another one. Douglas County is about to launch a settlement agreement. Actually, the meeting is tomorrow, so we won't be able to really, you know, talk about the results. But maybe you could fill us in on the Riverwood settlement agreement.
Sure. And this is another issue that our residents, I'm sure, are well familiar with, that the Riverwood project in North Douglas County on the east side of 395 near the development where Target and Home Depot are on the other side of 395 from there. The vacant pad that was done several years ago. The project was approved in 2006 and has spent the past 6 years essentially dormant and very little activity. Douglas County has spent the last few years in litigation and settlement discussions with the various parties to that development. And the big challenge that we've had with that issue has been the $24.7 million obligation that the Douglas County Redevelopment Agency, so it's not the Douglas County General Fund or other funds, it's the redevelopment agency that's been established, has been on the hook for $24.7 million, a commitment that was made as part of that agreement in 2006 to pay $24.7 million up to that amount in payments over 16 years to develop 30,000 square feet of commercial space on 4.6 acres. So long story short, we obviously have contested that issue and have had concerns about those agreements, and our board has stood strong and continued to fight that. We have a proposed settlement, release and settlement agreement that the board will consider on Wednesday, September 26th at 3 p.m., and we'll talk about their action after it happens. But it essentially would terminate the owner's participation agreement. That $24.7 million obligation would go away. It would not exist. It would be unenforceable and terminated. And there would be a payment from the redevelopment agency of $650,000 in lieu of the $24.7 million. And the owner's participation in that agreement would go away. The development agreement, which dealt with the larger portion of the acreage of that property, would be tolled or stayed for the course of 1 year to allow the parties to continue to work through other settlement issues and come to some reasonable resolution to that. So my view is that this is a reasonable resolution to a really challenging legal issue the county has been dealing with for several years. It's the most challenging litigation that I've been involved with or aware of in my 15 years of experience. And I'll tell you a real credit to Mark Jackson, our district attorney, and his staff, Cynthia Gregory, deputy district attorney, and their legal team, who just methodically worked through all the issues and were able to come to, again, what in my opinion is a reasonable resolution to the issue. So we'll report back on what the board's action is on September 26th, but that's the proposed settlement agreement.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Community Senior Center. Proposals have been studied over the last month or so, and I guess some proposals have been selected now?
Right. We had, there were five finalists as part of the request for qualifications that came forward, general contractors and architectural and design firms that partnered and submitted qualifications. We reviewed those in a comprehensive review process, had all-day interviews with a large panel of staff and residents, and there were three contractors that were selected to submit final proposals, design and proposals for the site. The three are Core, Turner, and Clark and Sullivan. Those are the three contractors that were selected. All of them have some local component, and we really have stressed the importance of the need for use of local subcontractors on this project. We're somewhat limited in our ability to dictate that because of state law requirements for public bidding, and the fact that local means in the state of Nevada, not Douglas County.
Right.
But we still are, making that part of our scoring process under the law as it allows. So we selected those three, and they'll develop proposals, and then we will select a final proposal to recommend to the board for approval towards the beginning of 2013. So it's been a really good process. Great participation that we've had from all those who've come forward, really great ideas and collaboration, and we're just looking forward to continuing progress on the construction of the new community center.
No, it's great to see the whole thing moving ahead. We'll only have time for one more here. The Genoa Cowboy event.
Yeah.
Douglas County has been helping that event out, and I guess they decided to go ahead with
they did
the next year. Okay.
Yeah, they did, and there was they have a date, May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2013. So please put that on your calendars, and if you've been out to it, then you want to go out again because it's a great event. If you haven't been out to it, I really encourage people to get it on their calendars and go out and participate. It is just some wonderful entertainment, and even if you like the music aspect, but you're not sure about the poetry, just go out and experience it. I was in that category, and I went out and I just had a wonderful time with my family and other people there. So great event. Douglas County is continuing to support it through our economic vitality plan financially, as well as in every leadership capacity that we can. Our board has been really supportive of the event for the past 3 years. Will be again. I think the town is excited about making a decision and pulling a date in, and they're going to make some tweaks to the event to make it more attractive and appeal to broader audiences while still maintaining the authentic Western culture and heritage that it highlights of Genoa and the Carson Valley. And that's really where our interest has been. It's a wonderful event for the community, the region, and people from outside. But what it really does is it helps highlight what we are as a community, what Genoa is like, the historic and heritage and culture that we have there, and larger in the Carson Valley. And the argument that I made is, the Carson Valley's Visitors Authority has a new brand that they put out, rugged, relaxed, and reachable. And this event is completely consistent with that. So we look forward to the event May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2013.
Great. Great note to wrap up the show on. So, Steve, thank you for being here.
Lloyd.
County Manager Steve Mokro-Heisky on the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we'll see you next time on the County Manager's Report.